guys, I'm Drake York. Welcome to the second edition of Dirt Talk with Drake York, and I'm here with the voice of Silver Dollar Speedway, Troy Hennig. It's good to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I mean, before the camera's rolling, we had some good talk, so I'm excited to maybe get some of these questions on tape tonight.
Yeah, the show today is presented by Mike Smith at Kimball Midwest, Shad Trucking, and Kevin Shera Designs. So our first question for you tonight, how did you get into announcing?
Oh my goodness, that's a long story. I'll try to make it short for you guys. But basically, I was going to Chico State, and the announcer at the time, Dennis Gage, who now is the promoter at the Speedway, was getting out of announcing and kind of thought, well, who could do the announcing, and had to write and do all the things that goes with announcing and doing the PR work. So he asked me, and I totally said no because I didn't want to public speak. I had no interest in it. I was probably 21 years old at the time. And a couple years later, he finally said, that's it. It's either going to go to somebody else or you're going to have to do it. So I thought about it for a while, and of all things, my grandma passed away, Marge Hennig, and she loved motorsports. Her favorite driver, Mario Andretti, and she just loved racing. And I told Dennis at her funeral, he went to a family friend, I said, for my grandma, I'll do it. I'll just get up there, and Drake, I had 20 pieces of paper. I had names, hometown, sponsors. I had every information you could want to know about pure stock guys. At the time, it was a pure stock division. I was so nervous, I barely got the number and the driver's name on the microphone that first night. Sweating, my hands were all sweaty. I was so nervous, but I got through it. End of the night, I stopped there. I thought it was pretty cool. It's like, that was pretty cool. People like that. And Dennis asked me, he said, well, you want to do this again? And I said, absolutely. What can I do next week? And he said, let's do the modifieds. So that's how I started. I really started by, my grandma passing away in her honor. I wanted to be, in her honor, announce a race. And then Dennis was getting out of it. It just all kind of came together at the same time. And then that was 1998. And then I've been doing it straight since 1999.
What age did you start announcing? I'm sure you're 21, right?
Well, I was about 23 or 24. Didn't have gray hair. Got gray hair now, up here and down here.
You're not that old.
Well, I'm 42, so I feel
You're younger than my dad.
Well, your dad looks better than me, though. He's working out all the time. I got to catch up with your dad. I was young back then. I still feel young at heart, but it's time for the younger generation like you and Bradley Kennedy and some other good young guys are to come up and kind of finish what we've started. You guys got to come up and take over the realm.
You've seen so many great drivers, but who is your favorite? Other than Jason York.
Other than your dad? Great question. So probably I'm going to have to give you an answer of some people that I talked to outside of racing. So probably Andy Forsberg. Andy and I are a lot of similarities. He started a little bit racing before I became the announcer at Chico, but we both kind of started together at Chico. Sean Becker he had last week. Love Sean. We play basketball all the time together and hang out. Kyle Hurst. Love Kyle Hurst. And probably like some of the new guys, Rico Abreu is great, Kyle Larson, you can't go wrong with those guys.
Yeah. What was your favorite race all time? I mean, I know you've seen at least over 10 millions of races.
Yeah, a lot of races. Probably the Gold Cup. I hate to, maybe Jason will remember the Tim Kading, Steve Kinzer battle. Jason, do you remember what year that was? I think it was 2003-ish. Tim Kading led the Gold Cup at that time. Was pretty awesome. He was a local guy. Steve Kinzer ends up passing him late in the race. At the end of the race, it was the first time I've seen the second place driver do 360 donuts. Tim is in turn 4 just doing donuts. Steve Kinzer stops. I mean, at the time he was, still the king. And he gets out of his race car. I'm on the infield ready to do the interview. And Steve starts walking towards turn 4 and went over and gave Tim Kading a hug. And said that was a great race and walked back. And I remember interviewing the king, and all he wanted to do was praise Tim Kading that night. But I remember also real quick about that race, I was on the infield and there was 10 laps to go and we had a red flag and Tim Kading was the leader and he pulled to the back straightaway. And Tim is just going bonkers inside the car. He just couldn't control his emotions. And Rodney Tyner's on the fence on the back straightaway going, Tim, look at me! Tim, look at me! And I'm just this young, I'm watching all this too and I'm nervous. I'm sorry, I got goosebumps about the deal. And Rodney looks at Tim and they make eye contact and he goes, focus! Tim was like, I can't. So unfortunately Tim went on to lose the race, but it was still the greatest race that I remember. And it was just a great feeling to see Steve Kinzer go over and give Tim Kading that hug.
Well, what is the race you look forward to the most?
Oh, good question. That's a great question. Probably for me right now, it's a combination of the memorial races. Dave Bradley Jr. was my hero growing up as a race car fan. I used to love watching him race. My dad and his parents, my mom and parents were good friends of his, and also his parents, so we hung around a lot. Tyler Wolf, who passed, way too young. That race means a lot to me because I get to remember Tyler, obviously the David Tartar Memorial, and at the end the Stephen Allard tribute. So all those guys I knew pretty well. Dave was my hero. The other three guys I got to watch race and announce. Probably you might have thought it'd be Gold Cup, or something. Maybe like a bigger race, but
My mom was telling me, like, oh, I'm not even gonna ask that.
yeah, I like
Gold Cup.
Yeah, I like that question. Gold Cup, when I was your age, was my favorite race, but now that I've worked it for so long and it's such a stressful week, we get no sleep, we're running around all over the place, and at the end of Saturday, you're just like, oh, thank God it's over, we gotta wait for another year. Don't get me wrong, it's a cool event, we like it, but my heart's with the memorial races. It's just I have a connection with those families. But Stephen, Allard, Tyler Wolf, and David Tartar, I spoke at all their funerals, so I feel like a connection with their families, and it meant a lot to me. So those are my favorite races, the memorial races.
I know you do a lot of behind the scenes stuff at Silver Dollar Speedway that most people wouldn't want to do. Can you tell us about it?
So you're setting me up for the trash cleanup stuff, aren't you? That was a good one, kid. So yeah, that's what I should tell you is obviously if you want to continue your announcing career, you got to get to TV, right? You got to pay your dues and get stuff going here, but locally, but you got to get TV. That's where the money is. Financially, I do things behind the scenes to make enough money to totally help my family. And I don't mind doing some of the stuff. Like the weekend stuff is nice because I put my headphones on, put on my favorite music, and no one can bother me. The issue with this job nowadays is with the cell phone and internet and emails. The job never ends. Once the season starts, there's a lot of people that call you and text you or complain to you, or also give you props. But it's a 24/7 gig, even though we only race Friday, and I do the announcing at Marysville. Other stuff, the internet stuff, the Twitter, the Facebook, there's other things that we have to do once we leave the racetrack. But the cleanup is a big thing. You want to come help me pick up some hot, juicy nachos on Saturday after the races? Guess that's a no.
I'm trying to sound not rude.
That's a good question. All these are great questions.
You announced a K&N Pro Series race at Roseville.
Yeah.
How cool is that for you?
It's great. To be able to do that race was awesome. Bill Sullivan, announcer at Placerville, is actually going to step away this year, but Bill was working for Bill McAnally, the organizer of that race, and gave me a call, and it was just worked out where I did it. I did it 2 years in a row. Great experience. Got me out of my comfort zone. You and I were talking about comfort zones earlier, but I had to do my homework, and that's one thing, if you ask me, but the biggest part of this job is just doing your homework. You got to do the research. You got to be at home searching on the internet, getting names, hometowns, stats. The nice thing about the K&N NASCAR people, though, is they actually had a guy that handed you stuff, but when he hands it to you at the race, you're already too far behind. You can't absorb that information in time. So I did have the same stuff, but I was able to study it. But yeah, that was one of my big accomplishments. I really like doing that. It was cool, fast. It was on TV both times I did it, so it meant a lot to me. Getting back to the K&N NASCAR thing real quick, though, probably my biggest, coolest announcing thing, though, was actually announcing at Calistoga. When I got to go there, my grandma and grandpa, they hung out there a lot as kids. My grandma grew up in St. Helena. So to actually get to announce a race that, all those cool people had announced before us at Calistoga was also really cool. But do you have any interest in asphalt stuff and maybe covering some of that stuff?
Yeah, I want to go to Fox.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why?
NASCAR. I just like the station.
What about NBC? No good? ESPN?
Well, ESPN's not doing it much anymore. So.
They're out of the game, huh?
Yeah, they're out of the game.
I'm not a huge NASCAR fan ultimately, so I guess I got to research that more.
Well, this is your 17th year
Wow.
in the booth at Silver Dollar. So, did I get that
How old are
wrong?
you? No, you did. You did your math right. How old are you?
I'm 11 now.
Oh my gosh, I feel so old. Okay, go ahead.
Well, how pumped up, are you still pumped up as you were when you first got into the booth?
Do you want the truth?
Yes.
Absolutely not. No.
Never lie.
No, I don't want to lie. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It's fun. But I like different aspects now. I like doing more of the promotions. Doing all the sales and promotions and getting people to come to the racetrack and doing the TV spots and the radio. There's other things about the job I don't like, but what I enjoy most about it is seeing all my old friends. I mean, obviously, we get to talk and see each other, over the winter a little bit, but man, that weekly bond that you share with your friends at the racetrack is cool, so I do enjoy that. But no, it's about time for me to get on with my life. 17 years is a long time. I think I talked recently to someone about maybe making it to year 20, but that depends on Dennis Gage, the promoter. If he steps away sooner than later, I might have to bow out with him. So everyone always asks me, who's going to replace you at Chico? Well, I mean, I wish I could say this person or that person, but it's really up to the next promoter. They'll make the decisions, not me. And I know Lowell Morale Sr. and I have talked a little bit about, Dennis does step away, maybe Lowell wants to do it. And would I be willing to stick around and help Lowell transition and to be the promoter at Silver Dollar Speedway? So there's some options, but the enthusiasm to jump to the booth and just start the year isn't what it used to be, but I still do love it, don't get me wrong. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I am excited about Chico starting. Marysville's 2 weeks away for the Sherm Taller, so I am excited about the start of the season, yes, totally. Am I excited about doing 60 races all year? Yeah, it does wear on me a little bit.
Well, how's the sport changed since you started covering races?
Great question. It has changed, for me, it's changed